So a warm welcome to our class of 2023 students and families. Thank you for being here today to learn more about your subject selection and the University Counseling Program at ISV. Today, we will cover a little bit more about the IBDP subject selection. So I hope if you have some questions, this might answer a few more. I'll cover some highlights of ISV's University Counseling Program. I'll go over a general standardized exam schedule, and parents, I'll go over how you can help your child. Before we move forward, as Mr. Collin mentioned, my name is Alyssa. So my name is Miss Alyssa. For you students, I am the University Counselor at ISV. And before we start, I'd like to think a little bit about how much time we have left until your application deadline. You may be surprised to know that you actually have 1 year, 10 months, and 6 days. So actually less than 2 years, which means that it will fly by. It is not a whole lot of time to plan. So I encourage you to make every moment count starting now. When we're talking about the IBDP subject selection, um, first we want to talk about what universities think of ISV's curriculum, both the IGCSE as well as the IB diploma. As Mr. Collin mentioned, this is both of these programs are very, very rigorous, partially because they have external exams that universities can really, really trust. What we find is that when I'm working with students, even our average students get great university results. And this is because universities really value the IB as well as the IGCSE programs. Once students are in university, universities talk about how engaged and really ready they are for their studies, especially as compared to the advanced placement students and the A-level students. Universities value the IB so much, in fact, that in North America, in Canada and the US, they will often give credit for IBDP exam scores that are 5 or higher. They consider that to be the equivalent of 1 semester of college level coursework. That means that for 4-year programs, like in Canada and the US, they can often take off 1 full semester, which means that you will save a lot of time and some money. Before we go more in depth into the DP subject selection, I want to encourage you to really very carefully check specific subject requirements on university websites. We are able to give you a very general overview of what universities are looking for each subject and prerequisite knowledge that you need to have. However, it's your responsibility to do the in-depth research to ensure that it is exactly what you're looking for. So if you have a particular university in mind, now is the time that you want to do that research. With that being said, first we want to take a look at your interests and strengths. And this is something that we will be doing together with the grade 10 students. At ISV, we believe that if you are satisfied with your career, you're probably going to be very happy in your life. So we want you to find a career that you not just make a lot of money at, that's one thing, but we want you to really be satisfied and fulfilled. And one way that we will help you to do that is through an assessment called an interest profiler assessment. I'm going to touch on the different types of career choices that match with the 6 different personality types. So I'll give you a few examples. So we'll start with realistic. People who are realistic tend to be very adventurous. They love to use their hands. They're very active and like to be outdoors. An example of that might be a pilot. People who are investigative are very analytical. They like to solve problems in their head. They're often very good at math and science. And an example of that might be an engineer. People who are artistic are very creative. They think outside of the box. They like to solve problems in different ways. An example of that might be a graphic designer. And people who are social, they like to help people. Often they like to teach them life skills. They're very caring and kind. They like meaningful work. An example might be a teacher. People who are enterprising are very persuasive. They're often very good leaders. They like to take a lot of risks. And an example might be an entrepreneur. People who are conventional are very organized. They are very efficient and orderly. Often they're very good with spreadsheets and often good with math. An example might be an accountant. So keep this in mind as we look further into your interest and strengths and the different types of subjects that you can study. So we have two basic categories. We have the arts and humanities. In most countries, but not all, arts and humanities and social science degrees end in a Bachelor of Arts degree. Whereas, uh, sorry, and they study these different types of subjects. So they study art, politics, history, language, communication, and things like that. In contrast, we have STEM, and they often culminate in a Bachelor of Science. And here are some subjects that are in the STEM related fields. So that's going to be medicine, computer science, engineering, natural and physical sciences. You might notice that there are actually some degrees that span both types of subjects. So we have business or commerce that can be either a BA or a BS. Same with psychology as well as economics. Before we go into the specifics about what each major or course requires for the prerequisite knowledge in order to be successful in that field, it's important to know that most majors and courses actually don't require any essential subjects. Now, many of them, we certainly recommend them. However, very few have essential subjects, but there are some that I want to touch on today. So, if you are looking to study medicine, and that includes dental or veterinary, the essential primary subject that you want to take is going to be chemistry. Now, if you want to also study biology, that will certainly be required at some universities as well. However, some institutions prefer and or accept physics instead. So this is another case of where you're going to need to do some research in advance, particularly for the universities that you're interested in. Medicine, it may not surprise you that they're looking for mathematics at the advanced level. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more into specifics for math, but for suffice it to say that they're looking for an advanced type of math, and we'll cover that in a little bit more depth in just a moment. Engineering as well, they require physics at the higher level, again, an advanced math, and they're looking for either chemistry at the higher level or computer science at the higher level, depending on which branch of engineering you want to pursue. Computer science, again, requires mathematics at an advanced level, as well as we recommend physics at a higher level or computer science at a higher level. The remainder of the subjects, like I said, have recommended subjects that you should take. However, for psychology, which is a very, very popular course with our students, there are no essential subjects. We would look at and recommend you to take advanced mathematics. For those of you taking business or commerce, again, advanced mathematics, and it's always a good idea to take a business management course at the DP level. And for those of you law, history, politics, international relations, again, taking history at a higher level or language at a higher level are going to be very, very valuable for you. We have prepared a matrix of prerequisite subjects for university, which I believe will be pasted into the chat box. As Mr. Collins said, we will also be sending this PowerPoint as well as the links included. You'll notice that this matrix of prerequisite subjects will include the different countries that tend to be very popular with our students. And there's going to be some slight differences between them. However, for the most part, they're going to be very similar. So if I want to study engineering in North America, in the US, say, or Canada, I probably want the same knowledge as if I was going to study it in the UK. However, as Mr. Collins mentioned, there are two countries that you need to be very, very mindful of. If you plan to attend university or apply to university in Germany or the USA, they require very, very specific subjects in order to be successful with their applications. As Mr. Collins said, we will be meeting with each of you to go through and make sure that you do meet these requirements so that you will be able to apply there after you finish your IB diploma. But I do ask you to do a little bit of soul searching right now to see if you are interested in Germany or the USA, and we'll make a note of it to make sure that we have you covered. As I said, I'm going to touch a little bit more on the mathematics options that are available to you. Now, I am not a mathematics specialist, your teachers are, but I am going to give you a general overview and layout of what will be coming and what your options are so that you can talk to them more specifically about which choices you should be making. So if we look at this pyramid, we're going to look at the different options in order of difficulty, with this one being the most difficult. So we start with applications and interpretations, or AI, at the standard level. The next most difficult is going to be analysis and approaches, AA, at the standard level. And then we go to applications and interpretations, which is AI, at the higher level. And then the most difficult is going to be analysis and approaches at the higher level. Now, most universities will accept all of the IBDP mathematics courses. However, it's important to note that there are a very few, but there are a few universities that do not accept AI at the standard level. I will send you a link to a Google document that is documenting which universities do and do not accept that. So it's important to do some background work to check that out for yourself. And again, it's only a few. Now, if your university is asking you to have a mathematics requirement, usually what they're looking for is going to be a higher level subject in math, either AI or AA, depending on which program you want to study. So this is often for universities in the UK that specifically state that they want mathematics an A level, for example. So here is where HL, AI or AA would work very well. However, it's important to remember that Entry to any level is based on how you've done in the past. Remember that your teachers are going to recommend you for any of the mathematics courses. So it's really going to depend how you're performing now and on your IGCSE exam. As with any subject, I recommend you to take the highest level possible, assuming your teacher will allow you to. The reason why is because it will really enhance your application and it will show the universities that you are very keen and very willing to challenge yourself, which will give you a very strong advantage in your applications. That's a characteristic that they really like in a student. So let's look a little bit more into the different options for math. You may remember the arts and humanities, as well as the STEM. So if we take a look at the arts and humanities and social sciences, generally speaking, they don't need as high of a math. So these are the types of subjects that we would suggest that applications and interpretations at the standard level would be just fine. Again, you need to do your own research, but generally speaking, this subject works well. Whereas if you want to study a SEM subject, again, you need a advanced level, whereas AASL, AIHL, AAHL would work very well. I strongly recommend that you that you post your questions now and you speak with your current mathematics teacher about your specific situation, as well as ask good questions during your taster day when you get a chance to try the different subjects. Here's some additional information from the IBO that will help you to make your decision as well. I'm now going to touch on some of the highlights of the University Counseling Program at ISV. So as Mr. Collin mentioned, we have a tool called Maya Learning, which is a career and university guidance platform that really helps you to learn about yourself through various personality and career assessments. You're able to do a lot of research on different majors and courses, careers, as well as universities around the world. Parents, you'll be pleased to know that there is a parent account where you're able to monitor what your students are looking at and starring and are interested in, as well as you are able to make recommendations that you think might be a good fit for them. The university counseling program, generally speaking, has about 4 different parts. The first step is really exploring aptitudes, abilities, interests, and through different personality tests, they are able to then we're able to then channel this knowledge into exploring various careers, which is a little bit what we're talking about right now. I'm next going to touch on what happens when we explore post-secondary options, as well as completing applications, which primarily happens in grade 11 and 12. So some, uh, let me rephrase that. Over the last few years, we've had representatives from several different countries from around the world. Every year we have representatives from these countries, which tend to be our most popular. But we also have representatives from other various countries around the world either come in or meet with us virtually to give us background knowledge about the benefits of studying in that country and the application process. We also were very fortunate to have a university fair at ISV in September of 2019, just before COVID happened. So we were able to have quite a big crowd. of universities around the world. Now, although this doesn't happen regularly on a yearly basis, we do have university visits um, on a daily basis throughout October, November, as well as March and April. So students are able to meet with representatives and really get to know what the universities are like and have to offer. We also have mini fairs of about 10 to 30 universities from different countries each semester. Of course, now during the coronavirus school closure, we have moved everything virtually. So students will have access to virtual university visits that happen on a regular basis. Um, we recognize that students need guidance from home. So one of the ways that we channel this is through student-led conferences where we're able to finalize your child's country, where they want to study, as well as other main priorities so that they can really finalize their research and ultimately apply to universities that fit very well. And once we get to university applications, it's important to know that all facets of applications, we will assist you with those, including letters of recommendation from two teachers, as well as your counselor, as well as a reference, depending on the country where you want to apply. We will help to record your activity list of all of your CAS activities, and that also includes a CV, resume. We'll help you with all of your essays, including the notoriously challenging US college essay, supplemental essays, the UK personal statement. We'll also help you to complete your applications. Another area that we're going to explore in more depth is standardized exams. And we're going to make sure that you have a schedule in order to finish your standardized exams on time and ready for the grade 12 application season. So in looking at your recommended exam schedule, so here during the first semester and second semester, you've been focused on your IGCSE exams as you rightly should have been. However, moving forward, it's a good idea to start looking at taking either the Ielts or the TOEFL. Most likely you've heard of the Ielts before. We recommend that if you are a non-native speaker of English, that you should take the Ielts. In my experience, any student who has studied outside of Vietnam who is a non-native speaker of English has had to take either the IELTS or the TOEFL for university applications or for visa purposes. So it's something that I highly, highly recommend. For those of you that feel more comfortable taking the TOEFL, it is equally accepted. I find for whatever reason, most of us feel more comfortable with the IELTS, but TOEFL is just fine for most countries. It's a good idea to aim for a 7.0 overall or higher with no band score less than 6.5. With this score, that will satisfy any university requirement around the world. Now, of course, as students who are studying in the IBDP program, it's quite easy to get higher than this without studying. Your score is valid for 2 years, which is why we recommend taking it in semester 1 of grade 11. If you take it too early, it won't be valid when you apply. So therefore, we recommend that you take your IELTS or TOEFL before the semester 2 begins. Also, something to be aware of is that there will be a practice SAT, also known as the PSAT, that will be given to all students in grade 11 in October. You will be taking this test unless you and your parents opt out. So please be aware that that is something that is coming for you. It is a great way to prepare for the actual SAT exam. And then moving forward into grade 11, you will be finished with your language exams. So you don't need to worry about that anymore. Now you'll focus on the SAT or ACT should you choose to take it. The first exam of SAT is offered in March or May. I recommend that's when you take it for the first time. Or if you choose to take the ACT, you may take that in April or June. Again, you can self-study over the summer. And then in grade 12, when you come back for the first time, you can retake it very, very early. At that time, that will give you enough time to complete your applications and continue working on your regular homework. Students who continue to take it into October and November, December, I find just don't have enough time to finish their application satisfactorily. So therefore, I only recommend retaking if extremely necessary, but you should be finished with this already. Of course, at that point, you'll be continuing your applications with some US deadlines in November, and some other countries, the Netherlands, Korea, some are in March, but for the most part, they'll be finished between November, December, sometimes January as well. Then once you're done with your applications, you can take a deep breath until you remember that you also have your IBDP exams in May. This is just a general overview. Please do be aware that we'll go over this in much more specifics. And we'll also go over the benefits of taking the SAT versus the ACT or not taking it. But for those of you that like to plan ahead, I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what to expect. And finally, let's move into parents, how you can help your children. So this is the beautiful campus at BUV. And the reason why I have a picture is because during this time, not a lot of us are able to travel internationally, unfortunately. So therefore, I do recommend that you visit some of our international universities in Vietnam to get a good feel for what university life is like. You'll get to know some of the campus areas, the student body, and the different sizes to see the type of university that you would like to go to. I also highly recommend doing online virtual visits, which there are many, many available to you because all of the universities have quickly moved online. Parents, I encourage you to really be a record keeper for any awards that have been given between grades 9 through 12, as well as any extracurricular activities that they have completed up to now. I also encourage you to try new things, particularly as you're exploring or going into the summer, as well as when you move into the CAS program in grade 11. For you DP prep families, I really encourage you to take the IGCSE exam. I understand that you have about a week and a half left to finalize your signups, whether you will take the exam or not. Many universities around the world really want to see IGCSE exam results of C or better. And if you don't take the exams, it may limit your university choices. So it really is a valuable option. we encourage you to take at least English and math, as well as any other exams that are recommended by your teacher. I also encourage you to have very open and honest conversations about possible careers that your child might be interested in, any countries where you would like them to consider studying in or doing more research, values that they should be looking for when they're considering different post-secondary options in universities, as well as considering the finances that you're able to support them with each year. All of these topics will really help them to prepare not only for their IBDP subject selection um, choices that they need to make before April, but it will also help them to prepare for their post-secondary research. And that is about it from me. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat box, as well as if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask any questions you have live. We also encourage you to enter any questions that you have in the chat box for any subject teachers. And we're more than happy to pass those on to the teachers so that they can give you the best answers during your taster day, and we'll pass them on to you as well. Okay, and I'm going to ask Cho, did you want to ask that question?
Hello, we have a question from Mr. Đức, parent of
Great.
grade 10.
Perfect, and I think Mr. Collin might be able to answer this one as well.
Yes. So he asked for block 6 subject. Can my son pick one subject from block 1 to 4, for example, geography?
Very good question there. The block 6 choice at the moment is the block that's not finalized. It obviously has to include the art subjects of music and visual art and the normal combinations of chemistry and computer science as how they fit for university subjects. But things like the geography, the humanities subject, we will look at the students' initial choices and then send out the final block choices at the start of May, once also Miss Alyssa and I have had the conversations with them about what they would like to do post 18.
Okay, I have an additional question. Can I?
Please, Mr. Young.
Great.
Yeah. Yep. Before we choose IBDP subject, is it possible to have teachers' information first?
If to try and understand what you mean by the teacher information, obviously you will have the reports coming out on Friday for semester 1. During parent-teacher conferences, that is a moment that teachers can turn around and also ask, but also during the taster days and in lessons, teachers are talking to students about this. So for example, if we take maths, the maths department will be talking to students and working with us to make sure that either the right maths course and level is appropriate. So all of that information is available to students, but obviously parents can get that from teachers, as I said, through the parent-teacher conferences, as well as through the reports.
Okay.
I have a question, 2 actually. When you guys mentioned the Maya learning, right? So when I come to the ISV website, I couldn't access to my learning. But like when I search it up, it works. So is it the same website or is it not?
Yes, so that's a great question. So Maya Learning is something that the grade 10 students will be getting soon. So that's why you're not able to access it just yet, because we
Okay.
haven't activated your account. But that's something that's coming very, very soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my other question is that when is the taster day? Do you have any like specific date, a month?
The Taste of the Day, Steve, should have taken place or should be taking place tomorrow. But as we're not on campus, it will take place once we get back on campus. So hopefully it will happen before the spring break. But obviously I haven't got a date at the moment because we don't know when we're back on campus. But we will try and endeavour to get that done in the first few weeks of being back on campus for you. Okay?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any further questions? If there is a question that's you don't think of now, please, as I said, get in contact with us and we can share that with heads of department and put together a frequently asked questions to send out to you in the next few weeks. If that is everything, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much to our translators and Miss Alyssa. We will send the recordings as well, as I said, as copies of the PowerPoint and the booklet again in the next few days. And next week for students, we will send you out your Google form for those initial choices. And as I said, they are initial choices. The deadline for that will be the 1st of April, so you don't need to do it straight away. As I said, you might wait till Taster Day or reach out to your teachers as well. We'll leave it there, and I thank you very much for your time, as I said, and I hope you all stay safe and well and look forward to welcoming you very soon on campus again. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.